just want to feel happy, healthy, maybe making a little bit of a difference in the world? I mean, really, isn't that what we all want? It's just to feel good, maybe make other people feel good, and perhaps do a little bit of good work before we leave this planet. It's not that hard, right? We're not looking to achieve miracles. And yet, it feels so hard sometimes. That's because, my dear, we probably aren't living with virtue. I know that's an old-fashioned word, and many of us are kind of resisting it and pushing back. But the truth is we do need to live with virtue. And I'm going to unpack that today as we start to look at this. Hey, my dear, I am leadership development coach Kathy Archer, author of best-selling book, Mastering Confidence. What I know is most of us hit this point where we don't feel good and we don't feel like we're doing good work and we feel like we're in over our heads. We're wondering if we have what it takes to lead. And where we'd like to be is hiding in our bed under the covers and definitely not heading to work. What I do is I give you the inner and outer tools to restore your lost confidence so you, my dear, can move from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and your life. Hello to those that have joined, and just double check and see if there's any comments. Okay, I'm going to pop on over and share this into my Confident Women Leaders group. If you are not in the Confident Women Leaders group, it's up in the notes. Click to join. While I'm doing that, I want to know if you just simply want the basics. Like if you just kind of want to live, happy, healthy, feel good. If that's all you want, just put a heck yes in the chat box. I'm going to share this, share to group, Confident Women Leaders group, post it. Okay. I think that's what we're all looking for. We're not looking for some magical world where, everything is la, 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 la every day. In fact, if you got my email today, what you know is that's just not even realistic. Stress is a part of life. Challenge is a part of life. We will continue to be faced with ups and downs and humps and bumps and roadblocks and resistance. It's how you learn to manage all of that and deal with that allows you to feel better about your days. It's how did I handle that challenging conversation? What did I do when I slipped up and said something that was kind of rude? Did I go back and apologize? Did I admit my mistakes? Was I compassionate with that person? That's the kind of things that help you at the end of the day fall into bed and say, I had a good day versus, oh my God, my day was blah, 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 right? That's what we're kind of looking for. And that's why we've spent I meant to go look. I think we're about 2 months into this now. We have been unpacking the virtues via signature strengths. VIA is virtues in action, character strengths. But for what reason? Like, what's the whole point in all of this? I thought I'd start with an example because I think this really kind of sets the stage for why we want to do this work and why it's important as leaders to do this, and why it's incredibly important as women to do this as well. So most of us have to have conversations about our employees or the people we supervise about their performance. We have to do performance appraisals. We have to address issues. And oh my God, I can't tell you how many of you, me included, find those conversations difficult. It's like, we put them off, we avoid them, we rush through them, we cover up things, or we dump everything and run. Those conversations are the things that create our character. They're the things that when we handle those conversations in a way that makes that person feel good, feel like they're growing and developing, or makes that person feel like a piece of crap, that then turns around and has people talk about us. And what they're talking about us at Smoker's Corner, at the water cooler, when they're chatting with their buddy at lunchtime, what they're saying about us is they're talking about our character. They're talking about the type of person we are. So if you go into those conversations, here's what happens for most of us. There's a couple of key emotions that we feel when we go into those conversations about somebody's performance. One is we're worried. And we're worried that somehow what we're going to say is going to hurt that person's feelings, that somehow we are going to make them feel bad. The flip side of that is we're also anxious and a little bit self-protecting ourselves because we're worried they're going to attack us. They're going to come back and criticize us, and we're going to be kind of backed into a corner. So, those are kind of the two emotions, and we have both of those at the same time sometimes. What happens is that we can allow those emotions to shut us down or steer us in the wrong direction. And instead, what we need to do is come back, recognize those emotions. This is the whole emotional intelligence stuff that we've been talking about for years, or I've been talking about. Hopefully you've been tuning in. It's going, wait a minute, there's fear creeping in, there's worry creeping in, there's anxiety creeping in. What's that saying? Tuning into those messages. I don't need to treat this person horrible to share this message. I want to lead with compassion. I want to lead with love. I want to lead with that character trait. Remember, we've been unpacking these for weeks, that character trait about growth and development. I want to see this person reach their full potential. That's that character trait of excellence. Okay, great. How do I allow this person to get this information that I need to share that's going to hurt their feelings, that's going to make them feel defensive? How do I share that in a way that's going to help them see what they need to see and not come back and attack me? Because it's not about me. I'm just the messenger, right? What happens most times is that when you're sharing that hard message, they deflect and come back and attack you. When you can figure out how to do this, and again, this takes time and effort, but it comes back to understanding your emotions, understanding the type of leader you want to be, understanding the impact you want to have. This is the inner work that I've been talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks. Going through all of that and saying, I want to be a leader that after the conversation, when she's in the coffee room talking to her coworker about me, I want her to say to her coworker, wow, I've been having some troubles with this, but I see what I need to do to be more effective. I don't want that person to go into the coffee room and say, Kathy's such a blah. I don't want that impact. I want the impact that somebody says, I, as a result of this conversation with Kathy, feel encouraged. I feel inspired. I feel motivated to grow and develop myself. I know what I need to do. I know the steps I need to take, or I know the direction I need to go, or I know at least where I need to start looking to develop myself. And I need to take a drink. That all comes back to virtue. Remember those 7 virtues we've been talking about? Wisdom, courage, wisdom, courage, justice, humanity, temperance, and transcendence. I think I got them all. If I am identified as a leader who leads with courage, who is a courageous leader, that is a virtue. Now, the trait of courage, I might practice courage in one moment, right? I might have a courageous conversation with somebody. But here's the thing. If my employee only sees me be courageous sometimes, maybe 20% of the time, but the other 80% of the time, I'm afraid, I'm backing down from tough conversations, I'm avoiding hard meetings, I'm delegating the dirty work, they're not going to see me leading courageously. That's why it's so important to look at the virtues and the character traits, the values and the emotions. What happens? It all comes back to emotional intelligence. When I am faced with that hard conversation and the urge in me is to shut down, turn around, run, hide, get the heck out of there, I have to have the courage to go, whoa, 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 back up the train here. What's going on? I feel it. I feel it in my body. I feel like I want to cry. I feel like I want to, get mad at this person. Okay, what's going on? And it's coming back to the inner dialogue, that level of stuff that we don't get to because we spend most of the time just up here. We need to back up. This is why in Mastering Confidence, I talk about the whole inner guidance cycle. You need to slow down and pause. That means you need to schedule time in your day to sit and do nothing. Not check email, not have a conversation with somebody, not be moving paper around, but just sit. And this is like 3 minutes. I'm not talking like an hour. But let everything catch up to you. We spend all day running away from our emotions. We need to let that stuff catch up to us. And if we don't, then we'll never face it. That's when we let the fear run our lives. Let the stress be in control. If you want to develop that courage, courage is the trait, the underlying virtue, the most important thing that we need to work on. Courage gives us the ability to lead powerfully. Courage gives us the ability to ask those curious questions rather than always coming up with the answer and being the smart one in the room. Courage allows us to rely on that faith and that hope and that optimism when we don't know the way, when we don't know the path, when we don't know what to do. But courage allows us to just trust, to just be okay with not knowing. Courage is the thing that lets us say, you know what, I need to learn more and I need to grow more. I need to, be humble and ask my boss if I can take this course or buy this book. I need to have the courage to be me. I mean, one of the traits was authenticity and honesty about who I am and how I show up. I had this conversation with somebody today who said, I want to be able to let, a swear word slip now and then and not feel bad for it. For me, I don't want to swear. I want to clean that up out of my language. We're two different people. Neither is right or wrong, but we want to be comfortable with who we are and how we show up. All of that takes courage, my dear. And courage starts with that emotional intelligence. It starts with pausing and then pondering. What's going on in my body? What's going on in my mind? What's the physical stuff? What are the thoughts I'm saying? What are the emotions I'm feeling? And then doing that pivot piece. Okay, what type of leader do I want to be? How do I want to lead? What's the impact I want to have? What's the direction I want to go? What's the behavior then that's going to get me there? Well, avoiding this conversation isn't going to create that impact. What will? Having the courage to have that conversation. Okay, I don't know how to have that conversation. Great, where do I need to start? Maybe I need to go back and look at that Courageous Conversations course I took that has a little bit of a formula for me. Maybe I need to ask my mentor about how do you handle these conversations. Maybe I just need to slow down and meditate for a few minutes before I go into that conversation so I feel more grounded, not like frazzled when I walk into it. That's it. This isn't rocket science, ladies. This is slowing down and being present. And you have to create that system in your life, in your day, where you allow yourself to do that. Today, what I really wanted to talk about was how to apply all of this stuff that you've learned, all of this wisdom around the virtues and the character traits and how you apply it in your life. Here's how you do it. And ask me questions if you are on live or if you're watching the replay, follow up. You have to stop and look at where you are. That first step is to take a look at where am I now? Do I understand the virtues and character traits? Do I know who I am? Have I done the VIA Signature Strengths? Have I done some work to identify my values? Do I know the type of leader I want to be? Where am I at now? What information do I have? What's going on in my life? What's happening in my leadership? Where am I now? That's the first step. The second step is then figuring out where is it that I want to be? So if I don't want to be here feeling like, at the end of the day, I'm exhausted, run down, frazzled, mad, depressed, zoning out on TV and Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. If that's not where I want to be, right? I want to be feeling good at the end of the day. I want to fall asleep at night going, I did something good. I feel good with who I am. I want to be at that place where I'm growing and developing myself. I want to be learning and continuing to become a better leader, a better person, a better mom, a better wife, a better friend. I want to be at a place where I have the courage to have those conversations, where I feel confident standing up in the front of a room and sharing a message that needs to be shared, leading a conversation, and maybe knowing full well that I don't know where that conversation is going to go, but having the conversation anyhow and having the confidence to lead that conversation. That's where I want to be. So first step, where am I now? Second step, where do I want to be? Those of you who have followed me for a while know exactly what I'm going to tell you for the third step. Here's where I am. Here's where I want to be. What do I need to do to get there? That's the third step. Here's the challenge that most of us face. Most of us look at the tactical steps of how to get there. And while those are important, what I need you to really, really look at is the steps inside here and here that you need to take to get there. What are the habits of thought that you need to create? What is the ability around strength of will and self-discipline that you need to cultivate? What are the roadblocks, the fears that are going to get in your way, and what are you going to do to overcome those? It's the inner stuff that stops us from reaching that point that we want to get to, from achieving our goals, from becoming that person we want to become. It's the fear of, what will people think of me if I step outside my box? What's the what happens when I do this and people start to question me, when they start to push back? Do I have the ability to come back and say, no, this is why we're doing it this way? It's that inner stuff that gets in the way. And that's what you need to do, is you need to come back to, where am I now? Where do I want to be? And what do I need to do to get there? And I've got a whole bunch of tools to help you do this today. In the link up in the notes is, actually, I didn't put the link up in the notes. In the comments after today, you can find this easily though. If you've missed some of these videos, go back and watch them. Like I said, I've been doing this for 8 weeks. The first week we talked about via signature strengths, and then each week after that, we unpacked one of the virtues. Each of those has guides to go with them, information to help you. That might be the starting point for you. If you're ready to make a plan though, what I want to make sure is that you don't make some of the mistakes that many women make as they start to plan their life. One of those mistakes, my dear, is planning the tactical stuff and missing the inner work. So there's a guide sheet up in the notes. I got to remember what it's called. 5 missteps women make when they try to create a plan to get out of survival mode. So that's where we are, many of us, right? We're just running through our days, just barely surviving. If you want to get out of that, get to that point where you're living in alignment with who you authentically are, finding that you're making the difference you want to make. Living with virtue is what we've learned over time, is what it's all about. I don't want you to make a bunch of mistakes creating your plan to get there. So grab that note. That's getting you from surviving, and it's helping you create that plan. It talks about the 5 missteps women often make in planning, and then what to do about it. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to start creating that plan. Where am I now? Where do I want to be? And what are the steps, inner and outer steps, that I need to take to get there? And, make sure that you're really clear in your plan. Like, you have to write this down. This is not something that's just in your head. You have to get clear. I sat down the other day to really look at my top values. And I've said all along that my top 2 values are family and that lifelong learning kind of piece. No, actually, when I started really digging deep and started understanding it more, what I realized was my top values, my first one is excellence. Comes back to these virtues and character traits. I want to be an excellent mom. I want to be an excellent wife. I want to be an excellent grandma. Family is in there, totally in there. But it's about that excellence. It's about, making sure that I'm being that best person I can be. It's also about, when I'm doing something for you, I want it good quality. I want to make sure that I'm giving my best. If I'm giving a speech at Toastmasters, I'm not going to slough it off and slap something together last minute. I'm going to know that I'm doing good. It's when I slough it off and do it last minute that I feel crappy, because my top value is excellence. It's excellence in health and fitness. That's why I work so hard to take care of my physical body, why I have such a rigid routine around sleep and what I do in the mornings and keep things in check. It's all around excellence. So actually I had 3 V's. Let's see if I can remember them, because I was really playing around with this to start understanding it more. It's virtuous living. I want to be a good person. That's, bottom line, excellence is about being a good person. I want to give value. I want to make sure that I make a difference in this world. That's incredibly important to me. I want to make sure that I'm making a difference for you, that I'm making a difference in my community, that I'm making a difference in my family. I just don't want to show up and take up space. I want to know at the end of the day that when you guys bury me, you're going to say, wow, Kathy did this. She had this impact on me. She made this difference in the world. That's an important piece for me. Value, virtues, vitality, I think was the third one, but I feel like that wasn't it, but it might be, which came back to that health piece, right? In order to do all of that, I have to have that excellence in my mind, in my focus, in my courage, in that vitality, in stamina. Like if I'm going to stand here for 20 some minutes and talk to you, I got to have that stamina, right? I got to have the energy, the zest. That all boils down to excellence. It's doing that inner work that helps me then move forward. Any question, guys, ask me. I'm going to try and see. I've been rambling here for a while. Let me know if you have any questions. So that's kind of pulling all of these virtues stuff together. If you want to, at the end of the day, say, was it a good day? I feel good. I feel good about the work I did, the impact I had on other people. Not like, oh, la, 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 this was an amazing day. But at the end of the day, just saying, I feel good. It's about living with virtue. It's about living in alignment with those character strengths, those character traits that are important to you. If you can do that, you're going to feel good. You're going to feel exhausted some days, and some days are going to be difficult, and you're going to be challenged. That's part of life. Stress is there. It's not going to go away. But you're going to say, I handled that well. I feel good about how I managed that conversation. I feel good about how I delegated that. I feel good about picking my priorities. And I know that it was hard to say no to some things, but at the end of the day, I know deep in my heart that this was the right choice to make. If you want that kind of ability at the end of your day, start to practice living with virtue. Start to figure out, what are my character traits? What are my strengths? Who do I want to be? What impact do I want to have? Create your plan. Where am I now? Where do I want to be? What are the inner and outer steps that I need to do to get there? If you need some help, if you're going to create your plan, don't make the mistakes that so many women make. Pop up into the notes and grab the 5 missteps that women make when they're trying to create their plan. It'll give you the corrections to go with them too. If you have any questions, let me know. We've really been unpacking this for weeks and weeks and weeks. And again, I think this is because at the end of the day, that's it. It's not about our titles and how much money we make and, the vacations we went on. It's not about hierarchies and control. It's about feeling good. I just want to be a good person. I just want to feel good at the end of the day. And yeah, I just want to know that at the end of my life, I've made a little bit of a difference or a big difference in people's lives. And that, my dear, is moving you from surviving to thriving. That's what it's all about. Stress, anxiety, challenge, difficult times are not going to go away. But if you learn to live in this virtuous way, following your character traits, you will fall, fumble, crash, but you'll get up and you'll feel good about the next steps forward. That's what it's all about. Continuous growth and development, continuing to understand yourself more and continuing to grow more. That's, my dear, what's going to move you from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and your life. Go make the rest of your day awesome, my dear.